For Julius Peppers, his story began in a small town in rural eastern North Carolina. So for his football career to reach its pinnacle in another one, a slightly larger one in central Ohio, well, that just seemed natural. It fit. It felt like home.
Well, enjoy the rest of the weekend and hope to see you back here in the future many times.
Thank you so much. I love Canton.
Of course he does. Everyone connected to football in any way does. After all, this is the place they call football heaven. And everywhere you turn in Canton, Ohio, there's another reminder of why. For Julius Peppers at his induction in August, everywhere he turned, it seemed so familiar, so comfortable for him. He belonged there, so of course it felt like home.
It really feels like this is the top of the top, and you really can't go any higher than this. Football heaven is what they call it.
And when you're here in Canton, Ohio, you start to realize why he feels that way. Because everywhere you turn there, things just have a way of working out. Things fall into place. Like this young fella who didn't realize when he left home this morning with his Julius Peppers jersey that he'd actually run into Julius Peppers.
What's up, guys?
But that's what happens in a small town.
There you go. There you go.
In Canton, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Okay, for starters, tell me your name.
My name is Daphne Bridges.
Daphne Bridges made the trip from Indian Trail in hopes of sharing a moment with a player she's been cheering for seemingly all her life. So when she turned a corner in downtown Canton, of course he was standing there.
We had to stop you because we literally saw you tackle Julius Peppers in the street. It's a true story.
It's not a true story.
We saw what we saw, Daphne. We also saw Julius Peppers, a man who moved carefully toward attention his entire career, begin to slowly embrace everything Canton had to offer with open arms.
This right here is pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It really is.
Yeah, it's cool. It's all different teams, you know what I'm saying? It's all the fans, football fans, man.
But it's good to ease into induction week because there's a lot happening at once. There's the Hall of Fame game to kick things off.
Julius Peppers.
Then there's a photo op with the new class with current members of the Hall. This poor man over here. You try organizing a photo with 200 men who instantly turn into school kids. And then who could forget about the gold jacket dinner? Or that nice parade we just saw? And then, of course, the speech.
Thank you for having my back.
The bust. And the party. But when it's all said and done, Julius gets to stay here forever. In his new home. Because he's always belonged to you.
Even though sometimes it's still kind of unbelievable when they say you're one of the greatest players to ever play, it's still kind of hard to wrap your head around because I just don't think of myself like that.
He might not have, but everyone else there did.
You rarely ever look at a player and say, that guy's a good bet for Canton. He's one of the few that I've said that from day one.
He was an old school player and a new type of body, a pretty special guy.
He could have played with us. I tell you, he's one of some of the newcomers in the league couldn't play in the old days. Julius Peppers, he could do it.
That's high praise from Dave Robinson, who played next to a guy named Ray Nitschke for the Vince Lombardi Packers. Yeah, they were good at football. But everywhere you turned in Canton, the legends of the game agreed, Julius Peppers would have been at home in any defense ever.
How would he have fit in on a Steelers defense like the one you played on?
Quite handsomely.
Quite handsomely indeed, Donnie Shell. But Julius fitting seamlessly into the history of the game shouldn't be a surprise. He always appreciated it, and he spent a career learning more as he went.
When I was in Chicago, I always reference Rod Marinelli because Rod would sometimes not even watch the practice tape. We would go to the meeting after practice and we would put on a tape of the Fearsome Foursome or the Purple People Eaters. So I appreciate Rod for educating us on the history of the game because, you know, these guys are the ones that laid the foundation for you.
So at the Gold Jacket dinner, as Julius made his way down the gauntlet of legends before him, that appreciation, that reverence was evident as he took in those moments with the players who laid the foundation, all building up to the one man who would put that gold jacket on his shoulders.
He will have his Pro Football Hall of Fame gold jacket slipped on him by Mean Joe Green.
Of course it's Mean Joe Green. What other player was ever at a level like Julius Peppers? And before I forget, we should also talk about the giant bronze head in the room. because Julius had a lot of thoughts about what it was going to look like.
Let me see Warren Sapp. Can you go back to Warren Sapp real quick? He got the cornrows. I like that one. Yeah, that's nice. Did you? Yeah, the details in there and everything. I got a few different styles I can choose from. So,
Dreads.
Yeah, I like those.
That was back in February when Pep got his head measured by sculptor Blair Buswell, who does the bust for the Hall of Fame. He wondered which of his many hairstyles he could go with. But ultimately, he decided to go back home.
I had to take it back. I took it back to the early days. You know, when I think about my career and what made me a Hall of Fame player, it was those first 8 years in Carolina. And that was the hairstyle that I was wearing then. The dreads and the cornrows and all that stuff came later. So I wanted to just be represented by the player that put me in here.
But to realize what all this meant for Julius and why he fit so seamlessly in Canton and what he meant to so many others, we should go back to our friend Daphne, who we met out on the street.
I've been a fan of his since he was at UNC Carolina, and I think I have loved him from that moment. Watched him play basketball, watched him play football there, and then when he got drafted, it was like having like one of my kids do great things, you know, so it means everything to support him and to just love him through this.
That feeling of family comes naturally here, in a small town. That's the kind of place Julius Peppers has always felt comfortable.
And Panther Nation, you can travel the world, but there's no place like home.
And now, forever, that's the kind of place he can call home. Because Julius Peppers belongs there. He always did. And he always will.